Hi, my name is Ciaran Doyle, Chef Lecturer at Milton Keynes College, and today we're going to be looking at sausage rolls. We're going to look at two types of sausage rolls today. We're going to look at a traditional plain sausage roll with some sausage meats, just some Cumberland sausage, and we're also going to spice it up with one of my favourite ingredients, black pudding and red onion marmalade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my plain sausage meat and I'm going to add it just into my black pudding, along with a nice spoon of red onion marmalade. This is some red onion marmalade we've made in our restaurant earlier today with some of our students. We took loads and loads of finely sliced red onions. We've sweated them down really softly and then deglazed them with some red wine vinegar and then brown sugar, and we just cooked that and cooked it and cooked it and cooked it and cooked it until it was kind of a nice sticky sweet mess. And I've just mixed that in with my sausage meat and my black pudding, so it's nicely incorporated, and the red onion marmalade would help to cut through some of the richness of the sausage and the black pudding, so it'll help to give it a little bit of bite and a little bit of sweetness. So once that's mixed, I'm going to pop that into a piping bag, ready for piping in a minute. So in it goes, and then I can reserve this in the fridge for as long as I need it, or just until I'm ready for service. I'm using a piping bag because I find it's a lot easier to pipe the sausage meat for my sausage rolls, so I can get a nice, consistent, even line of my mix. Just like that. Squeeze out any air bubbles. And I'll tie that so my mix doesn't fall out the bottom. I'm going to do the same with my plain mix. And again, this is just some local Cumberland sausages from our butcher, so I don't need to add anything to it. He's already seasoned them for us. I've taken them out of their skins. And whatever kind of sausages you prefer, you can kind of use for this. And again, squeeze any of the air out so I don't come across it when I'm piping. And I'll just have a little clean up, get rid of any sausage meat. There's a puff pastry recipe on the platform, so all I've got here is some of that puff pastry we made earlier. I've rolled it out into two little sheets, and I'm just going to fill these now with my sausage meat. So I've cut them nicely, and then for my plain sausage mix, I'm just going to cut the tip off my piping bag, and I'm just going to pipe just off center in a nice even line. Applying even pressure throughout, just until I get down to the end. I'm going to pinch the end, and then taking a little bit of my egg wash to seal the pastry. Brushing one side, and I'm just going to fold that over. Pressing down with the edge of my thumb. I'm going to bake my sausage roll as one whole piece, and then I'll carve it for service. So once I press down with the side of my thumb, just to give a little bit of extra decoration and to help that pastry to seal, I'm going to use a fork just to crimp those edges nicely together. Like my nan used to do when she was making her apple tarts and whatnot. And then taking a small bit of that egg wash, I'm going to brush over the top and the sides of my puff pastry. Being careful not to, again, add too much egg wash, because I don't want that to drip down into the sides of my puff pastry, and it will set there, and then as it bakes I'm going to get an eggy kind of jam or goo on the bottom. So my classic sausage roll, I'll just leave to one side, and then we're going to look at filling our black pudding and red onion marmalade. So with this again, I'll take the tip off my piping bag, and I'm just going to pipe a nice even line all the way through. cutting off at the end. Taking my egg wash just to seal down the sides. But for this guy, I want to do something a little bit different. So with my top, I'm going to use my lattice cutter, and I'm just going to cut through my pastry using my lattice cutter so I can open it up. That way it will give the red onion marmalade and the black pudding an opportunity to caramelize a little bit more as it cooks. So just pulling my lattice cutter through nicely. My puff pastry opens up and falls apart. I just want to separate some of those cuts before placing back on top and just tucking in to bed nicely. Taking a little bit of that egg wash again, and not too heavily, brushing over the top of my pastry so I don't get any excess falling in between the cracks, but I'm still going to glaze that pastry nicely. I'm going to brush these with a second egg washing coat just to help that glaze, but also that golden color on top of my pastry. Then I'm going to put them into the fridge for about 10 minutes to let them rest before baking at 180 degrees for 15 minutes until nicely cooked and golden brown. So my sausage rolls have been in the oven for about 15 minutes, just until they're lovely and golden brown and nice and crisp and flaky. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off some of the ends. Those bits I can have a little snack on. And I'm going to cut these into nice bite-sized portions and pop them onto our wooden tray. So you can kind of see in the center, we've got our lovely flaky puff pastry and our nicely cooked meat. So 3 of those. And then we've got our plain classic sausage roll. With that nice soft flaky puff pastry and then nicely cooked sausage meat in the middle. And then the last thing you have to think about is what sauce are you going to have with your sausage roll?